Welcome back to the 1000 Amp Podcast. My name is Matt Schell, and I'm joined today by Andrew Garrahan from Computer Lunch. It's the morning in New York. It's the afternoon here in Berlin. Good morning, Andrew.
Good morning.
How are you?
It's 10 o'clock. Yeah,
nice.
We actually had to push back our morning stand-up to do this call with you.
Oh, well, thank you for doing it. Thank you for making the time. Super appreciate it. So
no problem.
Yeah. So Andrew and I have actually known each other for a number of years from the indie dev scene in New York. I was trying to remember when we actually first met, which I think was at a playcrafting event, right?
Your Black Monarch game, I remember seeing that a lot. You were showing that at playcrafting, and then somehow I did find out you were doing videos for Unity, and I thought that was really funny. So I was trying to because a lot of basic beginners would do the tutorials, and I'd be like, oh, that's the guy that did the video, and for some reason we thought that was very funny.
Yeah, totally. No, I had a few of those at the playcrafting events. I'd be showing my games, and then people would be like, hey, is that your voice? I recognize your voice, because nobody knew my face, or really my name. When I first started doing it, the kind of policy of Unity was that it was all anonymous, so nobody actually knew who I was. And then I was doing it, and then people would be like, wait, that voice, is that you? I was listening to you for hours,
Yeah. I think Roman, Roman Sharf?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think he has a great impression of you that you'll have to get him to do.
Really? Oh, I got to get him to do it.
Yeah. Nice. But that was really cool, because we were with Unity, something Unity did really well is or any piece of software is tutorial tools, teaching people how to use it, and that's how everyone learned. They watch those videos, and it's cool to say hello to the teacher. So totally.
Yeah. No, and then you and I both had the experience of teaching. So when I found out you did that, I was like, oh, okay, this guy's excellent teacher. And I was teaching at a art school in New York called New York Film Academy. It's a film school, but they also had a small game design department, and they were looking for other kind of core game design teachers. Yeah. So I just asked if you're available, and you taught there for a couple of years too. I guess it was mostly core Unity, game design development. So, and if you ever go to college for game design, they have this game workshop class where it's a long class. It's 6 to sometimes 8 hours, and then you're doing stuff like programming, but you're also talking about design concepts and maybe doing art. So it's the whole process of game design. I loved that job, actually. That was super fun for me. And Phoebe Elefante, who ran that department at the time, was great to work for. And for me, it was really great because it came in the middle. So I worked for Unity for 3 years remote from New York as one of the only people, one of 3 people in New York who was working for Unity. And so I was by myself all the time in my house, recording and streaming and stuff. So actually going out and teaching in a classroom 2 nights a week or whatever it was I was doing was super fun and great to interact with the kids. And I remember my thing with them at the time, which was super fun and a lot of energy, was I would be like, okay, I forget what we did, but we were doing a game a week, or it was just fast. And they were all kind of nervous. They were like, oh, what? And I was like, no, we're going to go fast, make all this stuff fast. And I was kind of a little bit drill sergeant on them. And that was so fun and so much energy, that kind of almost a game jam atmosphere, right? But just that feeling of being we're going to make a lot of stuff fast. Let's go. And I loved doing that a lot. It was really great.
The students really enjoyed it. Actually, one student, Hanero, actually works for us. So he's on our team.
Amazing.
Doing some game design and QA stuff. I think that's the only student you know.
That's cool, though.
But yeah, he's one of. But yeah, he was pretty excited when I told him. He's like, oh, how's Matt doing?
Oh,
I think
cool.
it's the drill sergeant thing, or not drill sergeant, but the coach. I think it really is okay. So if I'm gonna teach somebody game design, it's I can sit you down and we can like, I can show you how to do like code or like art and stuff. But at the end of the day, it's actually more of a coaching thing. It's like, keep going, like keep pushing, like don't stop. Like
totally.
Cause you'll teach somebody in like 4 hours. Okay. They learn the concept, but it's like, you got to do that same thing. Like a lot of times and then to get good. So,
I wholeheartly agree. And I think that's a great tip for anybody who's on the process of learning is that iteration thing, right? Like that let's, it doesn't, you don't do it once and then you know it. You got to do it and then do it again and look at it from this angle and do it again and backwards and flip it around, right? And that doing things again and again and again. And it also just creates, I feel like a lot of students are tense and nervous and don't want to make a mistake and don't want to, they're just like, they need that real push out of the nest to be like, just go, go, go. And if it's like, you just have to go fast. Now you're like, well, I can't. Oh, okay. I mean, I just have to go fast. I can't think about it too much. I can't stop and chicken around, and that just kind of pushes people out of their shell a little bit. And then it's just fun, right? It's kind of exciting to try to do stuff fast.
It is hard. Yeah, we're at Gumbo. So Gumbo is in New York City. There's a like kind of loose game dev collective called Gumbo, and it's mostly like just different developers in the area that are trying to finish their games. But with COVID, we haven't been able to go to the office, so the community kind of like is kind of not dissolving, but it's kind of floating off into space. And so we started to do a show and tell every 2 weeks where people just kind of for 10 minutes, they just show what they're working on. So like, it's like, I just pop in and I show, like we pull up Unity and show like, oh, this is what I'm doing the past 2 weeks. But it's designed to kind of keep people kind of going. It's like, all right, I'm going to show something new, just kind of keep moving. But then it's really hard releasing games. Like I got this one friend of mine. I guess I'm going to call him out. This guy, he's got this game called Coin Simulator. I mean, I don't want to bust this concept, but it's like a coin collecting app. But he basically finished the entire thing, and then he's like, "Oh, I'm not ready to release it." It's like, and so he started like another project, but I'm like, dude, it's like, oh, it's almost done. And it's like, it's a cool idea because it's unique and it has a specific like a theme, which is like real life coins.
And there's a community, right? Yeah. There's a community of people who are, there's coin collectors out there, right?
Yeah. People collect coins. Yeah. So it seems like that's a good theme. But yeah, so part of it's like, okay, if we do have a community of devs, like how do you create a structure for like intermediate developers, not like beginners, but people that know how to make it? Like, how do you stay focused and just like, okay, what's my next milestone? Not getting caught into like some sort of like a little feedback loop.
Bro, this is the thing I'm terrible at. I'm so bad. I have so many distractions and things going on, and being able to just like push through and finish. It's funny because I'm like talking about doing it as a teacher, doing it myself. It's so much easier to tell other people to do it. It's like
it's really hard. And I find like okay, so I'm like definitely like intermediate, like I mean very advanced developer at this point. But one thing that's like working, I would get like an intern or someone who's kind of like collaborating with me at like a lower level, but they're like a junior level, almost like a student. Yeah. And then I would meet with them like once a week for like 4 hours, and they would do a little bit of stuff, but it would just that pattern of me like being forced to meet with them and think about like what do I want them to help me with. Yeah. And also my personal commitment to them. It's like I have to have something for them, and I have to think about, and that natural act of kind of that working with someone actually pushed a lot of projects forward. Even when I felt like maybe they weren't contributing that much, or I might have been frustrated with it. It was still pushing things forward. So
you still have to show up for the person, right? It's like you're showing up like Joe or Joan is going to be waiting there. Yeah, I'm going to be embarrassed if I A, don't show up, B, show up. Oh, I didn't do anything this week. I was tired. Yeah, no, that's actually a really cool mechanism, to kind of create that accountability and even just that momentum, to keep that momentum going, right? And not just like slow down and stop.
The getting the momentum is like, how to do it when you don't really want to work on this stuff, because it's not. I mean, it's easy when it's fun and it's exciting, but like it can get kind of boring. I mean, not boring, but kind of, like you just rather like I'd rather sleep and watch YouTube videos all day long.
Bro, I know. Yeah,
that's what I want to do. It's my dream.
It's a good dream.
Actually, that and I guess I mean, I could segue that into like how we decided to create Cell Singularity.
Yeah, please. Yeah, let's hear it.
So anyway, I heard Matt was talking about idle games. Like, it sounds like he's kind of digging into one of those. So we have an idle game called Cell To Singularity, and it's pretty substantial at this point. We have a pretty big player base, and this game is about, it's kind of a science-themed idle game. It's about the evolution of life on Earth. And in the game, you start off from a simple cell, and you're upgrading this really large tech tree, like the civilization tech tree, and you're like unlocking all the different branches of life, and then eventually it unlocks into civilization, and then we literally have the civilization tech tree that you go up.
Cool.
And then eventually you do like science fiction stuff. But so that game, the idea for that one was like we had worked on. We were working on this mobile game called Mama Hawk, which is like a action arcade game where you fly around, more cartoon kind of graphics. And we were developing that. And then I was just at the end of that project, I was getting really tired. And we had kind of a publishing partner that we worked with. And my wife was also involved in it.
Yeah.
But we were, it was really challenging to finish that. But through that, at the end of that, I got kind of depressed, or I didn't like want to do anything. And so I was like depressed all summer or something, and all I want to do is like sleep and like watch YouTube videos. Like I would just, and this is I think what I would do if I didn't have to do anything. I'd just lay in bed, like watch like YouTube videos, and then like wake up for 4 hours and go right back to bed and just like sleep, almost like kind of fade in and out of like reality
of consciousness,
just like sleeping. Yeah, where you're like being lulled to sleep by some YouTube thing. But all I was watching was like just documentaries on like, I don't know, like space or science or biology, or like I was really into information, the history of technology. And just watching all these documentaries, and there's such amazing documentary content, like all starting from like the late 60s to the present.
Yeah.
Like you can literally like search anything, like concrete. You can search concrete and you get a 15-minute documentary on that.
That's amazing. Yeah.
And so there's so much great content on that, and I was like, wow, I wasn't really playing any games. So I'm like, I really like documentaries now. I guess I don't want to play video games. So I was like, so maybe I should make a documentary film. Oh, and then I was kind of running through it, kind of like prototyping the idea. So if I make a documentary film, so like I actually don't know a lot about film production, so I'd probably have to find a filmmaker. And then, oh wait, if I'm working with a filmmaker, they're going to tell me exactly what to do. So then I actually don't have any creative freedom. So I was like, maybe I should just make a game about it
in this theme, in this world,
in this theme, yeah. And then also at the time, I was like super like, I guess addicted or into like clicker games or idle games. I think Adventure Communist had just come out on Congregate, and it looked completely different. It was just like, it was the most like basic, like gray, disgusting, like it had like the generic progress bar slider as the progress bars. And it was just like so basic, but for some reason it was so like it kind of get under your skin, and then whenever you prestige, you have that rush where you're like, it feels so good to like rush through it, and then you get back to the part that you're grinding against, and like I don't know, it like felt so good to play those things, and they also are fascinating because they're like, I mean they're jokingly called like Skinner boxes because they are very addictive, but there's a fascination with it. It's like, why is it so like why am I connected to that? What is it driving? And understanding the mechanisms behind that motivation. And then as a game designer, I always want to like build whenever I play a genre and fall in love with it, I want to get closer to it. And for me, the way is to build that genre, that mechanism.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, well, there's a ton there, right? That's super interesting. I think that the question of, because I also experienced this with clicker games, and I actually just played Cell To Singularity, started playing Cell To Singularity recently because I was talking to Sam about it, and he was like, oh, you should think about making your game into more of a clicker game, and you should play Andrew's game. And I was like, great, and went and played it. I loved it. I think you guys did a great job there. I think that the combination of the art and then also the music I thought was great. This the choice to use the classical music was so much more. It was just kind of more substantial. I really felt like it was terrific.
Thank you.
I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I'd love to talk about the music, actually. Yeah. So the soundtrack does have a very, so it's all classical, mostly classical music.
Yeah.
I do like classical music a lot. I like popular music too, but in college I took like a music appreciation class, and it was just like a survey of like all these pieces from different time periods, and there's just great stuff. I mean, this is like some of the greatest composers that have ever lived on the planet.
Yeah.
And the cool thing about it, a lot of it's in public domain.
I was thinking about that. There's a whole interesting conversation about copyright and public domain there, right? That's an interesting topic in and of itself. But I thought I had that thought too as a producer and a business person. I was like, damn, this is smart. He's got some great music that he probably didn't have to pay a lot for, or didn't have to pay for the rights to the compositions, right? Probably had to make recordings of it and all that stuff. But
so it's a little like, so the public domain stuff. So I wanted, our game has kind of a Civilization vibe. Yeah. And Civilization also, like the template of using wonderful piece of classical music to describe the different ages. Right. It works really well with historical things because people just associate like, oh, you got like Beethoven with like his history. And it also has like this, a lot of classical music has this kind of like spirit of humanity that kind of swells you up, and it's like, oh yes, like the grandeur of like life. Yeah. So how can we juxtapose like really some of the silliest gameplay mechanics was just tapping and waiting with like this really like magnificent grandeur. But the music, so public. Oh, yeah.
No. I was going to say it works really well. Also because you're waiting. There is waiting involved in idle games, which in itself is interesting. But having some nice, great, really good music to listen to, not some awful music, which some of these games have. Having some like really substantial music to listen to, I thought was just was a really inspired choice, and added a aesthetic depth. Like a richness to it that I thought was really. We
want our players to feel like smart and sophisticated when they play it. Like, also I think when you see the game in screenshots, it almost looks a little complicated. Like it's going to be maybe not so casual, but then when you get into it, it's actually very simple and you're just waiting. But if someone looked at it, they wouldn't think you're like an idiot for playing it. It looks like it's sophisticated, and then it has tones, and it does have. It's all about science, so it is technically pretty like. I mean, it's. I like to think it's a heady clicker game. But.
No. I think that's cool. I like that, and I like the idea that you have we want our player to feel sophisticated in playing the game, right? Or we want it to be a kind of an adult experience, right? Yeah. It's not a 5-year-old experience.
Not for you, 5-year-olds. Sorry.
No, and that's cool. I really like that.
This is for adults.
Yeah, this is for grown-ups, right? I like that.
Grown-ups.
Signals in the music and everything. I think it's cool. Yeah.
But just to finish the music thing, though. Yeah. But I am a big fan of classical music, and but the public domain stuff's fun because it's a little like. Going to the thrift store and trying to see like what recordings you can find that are available in the public domain space, and then kind of flipping through the records, like what's this one, and then you find one, but like the recording quality is really nasty because it was recorded like 80 years ago, and then you might have to clean it up through like a filter.
Interesting.
It's kind of fun, like the crack, like the dust and crackles and stuff. But that part of it kind of I enjoy that aspect of it. So that was also something I like. I used to go like thrift store shopping a lot.
Yeah.
And just kind of, but with the thrift store, it's like so like shopping's kind of work, at least for me. I want to do it as fast as possible, but you want to find the best outfits, so you have to go through like 500 pieces of clothing like really quick. So you're like, and you quickly like learn to pick out what pieces are going to be your style. Yeah. And like what's not going to fit, and then so like that process of how do you sort through things quickly and find good assets to bring into your game.
Yeah, no, that's super cool, and I felt like that worked really well, and I think that the other thing that you mentioned that I think is really interesting and something I'm interested in, and I definitely feel myself in playing these games, is that strange, a little bit compulsive, addictive tug that these games have on you, right? Which is there's an interesting conversation about ethics and monetization and stuff there. But I think that having made and really thought deeply about a clicker game, what do you think is the appeal? Or at least maybe subjectively for you, right? Why do people want to play? Why do we like to play these games?
Good question. Yeah, they are quite addictive. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, they're kind of on the spectrum of I don't know. I'm not sure what the spectrum is, but if slot machines are on one side of the spectrum, and then I don't know what the most
playing chess or something. Yeah.
Yeah, but even chess is very turn-based, almost like an ambient expression. Maybe even Black Monarch, where you're floating around just experiencing the world. Yeah. It's there's not it's more like a mood. I would say idle games are definitely closer to that slot machine space. Yeah. They are kind of a formula. It's almost a formula to build these things. And it's follow the formula, the number curve, the pricing curve.
Yes.
And then the unlocking timing, and you naturally get something that really resonates with a lot of players, where they're oh, I'm in here. The idea of numbers going up, I don't know. A lot of idle games are tycoon games or infinite wealth games where you're I'm going to get rich. That's naturally a theme in so many games, from SimCity to Grand Theft Auto. You're trying to get your money go up, your points go up, and then in this game it's you've been given it to you for free. So it's almost stumbling on a jackpot or a gold mine, and you're oh my god, I'm winning so hard, and all I do is win in this game, and I never lose.
That's an interesting point. Is that there is no lost state, right? It's only about optimizing forward progress, right? It's how fast am I going to reach my goal? But I know I'm going to reach my goal eventually. If I do nothing, I'm going to reach my goal, right?
Yeah. Never take the player's progress away.
Yeah.
And always, there's a lot of wonderful things that the genre does, just allowing you to earn income in the background.
So right, while the game is not running. Yeah, that's a unique one. Yeah.
So anytime the player is away, when they come back, they get the goodies that they get their money, and the longer they're away, the longer the prize is. So you have this natural device that actually always makes for positive reoccurring, and then also the longer you stay, you're also earning stuff. So it's almost like playing this if you play the stock market or something, but it only goes up. It's just always positive. And then it's very. One thing that always kind of I thought was weird with idle games, idle games are a good example of a genre that probably could have existed before it was created. So I would say the first idle games, Cookie Clicker, is really the seminal work.
Agreed.
By I think Ortel or something, this French designer, and then I think there was this Cow Clickers, which was a parody before it. But that game kind of he synthesized this thing that was just this super addictive thing, and it's well, why didn't anybody think of that before? It's not. He made it in a web page. It wasn't
no, yeah,
didn't have a lot of graphics.
Yeah.
So what caused this genre just to pop out around that time? I guess 6 years ago.
Yeah.
And I think it was the. And I've thought about it a little bit because it's not graphics or technology, because it's just simple and it's not the ability to have really long numbers, because we've had long numbers for a long time.
Digits.
But one tip: you probably should use longs for your numbers.
Oh, that's a good tip. Yeah, if you're making, don't use an int.
Yeah. Pro tips. Well, don't even use floats. Use a long.
There you go. That's a good tip. That's a good tip.
Yeah. No, I'm sorry, not long. Double. Use double.
Double, right.
My tips are wrong. Yeah, doubles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Get as much value as you can into your variables.
Use the doubles. Yeah. Don't worry, it won't kill your performance. Double. They're pretty fast.
That's cool. That's definitely a good tip. But yeah, I think that it is a really interesting thing, and something that I noticed as I was starting to kind of research the genre was this. I think the main action or decision that the player is taking is unlocking, right? That's the strategic choice, right? And the having that, I feel like unlocking, and something that you guys did in Cell To Singularity, is unlocking is kind of tied to content, right? It's you get to see there's a little animation when you unlock the weird amoeba or the prokaryote or whatever the next strange organism is, right? Yeah. There's a little kind of animation that kind of celebrates it, and then there's you see the artwork, and there's a little moment, and that I feel like is the, I don't know if we would call that the core loop of the game, but that's kind of like, and also that's the thing that theoretically as a player you could be doing wrong, or not wrong, but you could be like, oh, I just unlocked this, and then it's too expensive. You could be unlocking something cheaper.
Yeah, you could block in a more complicated, like strategy game or a game with an economy. You could block yourself into a corner,
right?
They're so. It's kind of like the still. I like to joke when I talk about the game with my team, because they're also. I mean, idle games get a lot of flack because they're like silly and simple and kind of dumb. But most all like video games, video games are silly, guys. But they, I try to elevate the genre. I'm like, okay, it's more like a strategy game, guys. Like, it's the strategy of like, what are they going to buy first? Like, when you want to give a player an interesting choice, like between like, this price and that price. Like that's the level design. Like, do they want to get this upgrade first or that upgrade? And like, and even if it's like, okay, well, it doesn't matter. It's still going to unlock everything. It's like you still want that feeling of like strategy and how do you spend your money? It's really it's fun to decide what to buy. And then I also try to instill on them like the idea of like a dungeon, or like think of these, if you were playing like a MMO, like higher level dungeons. So like if in Cells we have very different branches of evolution. So we're working on the mammal branch, which has like deers and wolves and stuff. I'm like, this is like, think of it as like a higher level dungeon. So like we might even have like the gateway to that dungeon, but players can see, oh, the XP level of these enemies is really high. Like they're so expensive. So you can sit there and save up, but you're not going to be able to beat them. So maybe go to a different part of the game and grind on this other dungeon. Because just encouraging them, because the level design is all about pricing. So how expensive is something, and how long does the player have to wait? But you still want to be as thoughtful with that as possible. It's hard to be thoughtful, like because it's hard to care sometimes about the prices, because and this is why idle games have like these equations that allow you to do a lot of projection. You're projecting into like a year into the future. Like a player is going to be able to play for a long time. So ultimately you do have to have like math equations that do the projection. So the pacing can be about right. Cause you just can't it's like humanly impossible to do all that like custom pricing for like a year out. But it's still, with our game, we've actually let the evolution tree, the tree of life lead. So we're trying to fit scientific information into this idle structure. So we actually do put a lot of thoughtfulness on like, how expensive is this? How does this fit in there? But now we're like late game, so we're actually running into some serious pacing issues that I'm struggling to fix, because it's like when you have a number of like, if the difference between is like 100 and like 150, it's pretty easy to like in your head kind of tweak it. But if you make a 5% change on like, I don't know, undecillion, which is like, I don't know how big that is, you just like change the progression from like a day to like a whole year. So it'd be like where it would have been like 3 minutes to 5 minutes. Now it's like 3 minutes to like or like 1 day to like a whole year.
Right.
And your pacing is just completely destroyed at that point. So that's like late game idle stuff that you get to worry about.
But that's very interesting. I mean, one of the things that I noticed in looking at the there's this, I did a video on our channel about this U-clicker framework that somebody published that's like a kind of a basic clicker framework for Unity. And one of the first things that I noticed is that he just had the cost increase is basically like for the main kind of progression was like 1.15. It's like you buy something and then the next thing costs like 1.15 more. And I thought I was like, oh wow, it basically is just a kind of a curve, and that the way that it's almost like a kind of a procedural gameplay, right? It's like, okay, if you have like a fixed factor of growth, it can just, and like you say, somebody's going to be playing for a year. Well, if you had to sit in a spreadsheet and be like, okay, every single item here for a year is going to cost this, and there might be who knows how many, choices, upgrades a player's going to make, it becomes very untenable. But this idea that it's just a kind of mathematical formula, there's something kind of beautiful about that.
Yeah. If you were to do that by hand, it would take you a year, and it would be so boring that you'd be like, "Screw this!
I quit.
I'm gonna become an accountant because I hate game design
because I hate numbers."
So like the number thing. So and that also so there has been like some people hate idle games. So like I almost feel guilty about talking about them because like they do get a lot of hate. But one of the reasons I think for the explosion is the fact that they are like there is like kind of this formula to them and of this procedural nature. So you get that procedural curve. It's almost like a math equation. And then once you have that, it's like in a way your game design is kind of like, all right, check. Game design is okay.
Yeah.
And the fun part is it allows you to think about different problems. So with Cell to Singularity, we have a very vanilla cookie clicker structure. It uses a lot of the same like pacing and numbers and I was super influenced by it. Like everyone has been influenced by that guy, but wonderful game. But it can be kind of like cloned pretty easily. And so let's say you clone a game what do you do next? You have to do some innovation.
Yeah.
So I think the design challenge as when you're kind of directly like lifting a genre, like what design challenge do you do? And so with us, we were like, how do we splice it with really accurate evolution content, like science content? But you also have the freedom to do something else because you've already solved gameplay, so you can focus on something else. So, like if we were doing Cells as a, honestly, like a platformer, platformers are kind of hard. There's a lot of level design and the pacing, or Metroidvania. Those are really a lot of design challenges that are very custom. You can't just it's not an equation to make like a good Metroidvania, and so you can't really. All your design energy has to go towards. There's my wife back there. All your design energy has to go into doing the game design because it's so much work to fix.
Yeah.
So I would say like when you're coming up with your game design idea, like do be very conscious of what genre you're building and kind of understand the strengths and weaknesses of that genre. Like again for clickers, it is like it's simple to make and they're fairly easy to make. So you can think about other things. But you do sacrifice a lot too. Like there's not a ton of creative freedom in game design. Like you can't change it that much. So you are kind of like stick to the formula.
Yes.
So if you do want to be more creative, it might not be the genre to choose. Like
that's a really interesting point, actually, because this is just to bring it back to the thing that I'm wrestling with myself is that the idea for the game that I have is kind of about mining space rocks and then making items out of it. So it has this idle adjacent part, but I keep trying to complicate it and being like, no, it's got like Factorio parts and it's got automation and it's complicated and this is the part that, and I'm Sam was kind of pushing me. He was like, bro, why don't you try just literally make it an idle game so that you have something straightforward and you can finish it. And I'm like, no, I need to, like just making it super hard for myself as usual. Right. But I do think that that's a great strength of both idle games as a genre and genre in general. If you're trying to kind of get a game idea off the ground, just be like, okay, let's actually fit in this formula and make, smaller changes around the edges instead of being like, I'm going to invent this whole new genre that nobody has ever seen before and I have no idea how to do it, I think that is a really interesting thing.
It's quite naive. It's naive to think that. And I mean, our game's about like evolution theory, so the idea of like species like spawning new species, and like they have so it's like Darwin is like survival of the fittest, which means like what species survives based on their traits that help them adapt in the world. And so like I also look at video game genres as almost like species of animals. So like if you look at a genre, like what allows it to survive. So I mean, you're talking about Sam. So like the skateboarding genre, which is kind of, it seems like there's a lot of skateboarding games come out the past 3 years. But like, so what are the things that allow, if that's like a species that has to survive, like what are the things that keeps it alive? Well, one, popular skateboarding. Like everyone stops skateboarding like tomorrow. Like that would be not great for the genre. The fact that you can do so many cool tricks. So there's a grand range of expression in skateboarding. That also, and it's definitely cool because it's like more of the extreme sport end of things. So all those things kind of like they make people want to play it, and like it means that game can like survive.
Totally.
And then so in evolution, it's like, so all animals are like in the water, right? So, but then the animals got on land, so they had to they were like breathing in water, and then they had to get on land, so their lungs have to change. So let's say, if you think about a genre going from like consoles to mobile, so consoles are like water, and like mobile's like getting on dry land. So like, what does your genre have to do to like transform itself? So for the skateboarding example, can you do controls on a phone that also like give you the power and input to express yourself? Can you fit in that aspect ratio? Like you don't have as much space to do certain visual things. So can you still communicate the core ideas of the genre in that space? And then performance, can you even like make something in there? Like can you do a big MMO in there? So that would like the evolutionary trait of that. So will your genre survive in the new market? I think one thing that like I'm not really working on any new concepts at the moment because we're really focusing on the Cells game. But you really should think about your game concept. How does it exist across platforms? Like, because how does my concept work on mobile? How does it work on the Steam store? Can it work as a freemium game? Can it work as a paid game? And kind of asking yourself like a few of those questions, at least being aware of it, because there's no like. This week I was just looking at all the new games. Like, I mean, Among Us is like, it's like super popular right now. Yeah, super popular. And that's also like, it's on Steam. I think it's $10 on Steam, and it's also free on the phones.
Which is very interesting in and of itself. Yeah.
So but the concept works on both. And then you have, Fallout Guys is not on on mobile, but I'm sure they will bring it there eventually. But you're just not like, mobile used to be a place where you could kind of defend yourself from the AAA games. But now, like, you got Call of Duty, Fortnite there. Like, you don't get any, like, your game's not important because it's on a platform. It's important because of what it stands for or what the value it brings to the player. I don't know. This is a little more high level though. So I think this is more like, you got to like, it's not, if you're just trying to get your first game done and just get the programming, it's not, no. I don't think you should solve that problem, but it's like for I don't know. I really want.
I think it's really good advice though, honestly. And I think it's good to be able to at least ask yourself those questions, right? To be like, what would this look like if I were trying to go over here? And I think actually this was an interesting, I played Cells on mobile, but I didn't know it was on Steam. And then Sam told me it was on Steam, and it's, and I was like, what? I was like, it's on Steam? Like, what? You know? And it was, but I'm like, makes sense, right? It's smart. And obviously the idle players, there's definitely a lot of idle PC gamer idle players, right? So that makes sense, right? Platform and audience together. One thing I noticed playing the game on mobile was your approach to monetization, which I thought was good. So I played, just to give a contrast, I was like downloaded a bunch of idle games because I was like researching, and I played Idle Miner. right? Which is popular game in the space. My kids were playing it. That's how I became aware of it.
There's studios in Berlin, Matt.
Are they really? I didn't know that. I'm going to talk a little bit of shit about them. They're I mean...
Watch out. They're going to knock on your door.
I know, right? They could come and say, hi, guys.
The biggest... They might... Yeah, sorry.
It's good. It's a good game. I actually like the game, and I actually played a bunch, you know. The thing that I really don't like about it is it has this monetization. They literally have blinking alerts on the home screen that you can't get rid of without spending real money, right? And I'm like, bro, that stresses me out. That's literally, I don't want to play this anymore because there's some blinking icon I can't get rid of without paying money. And I thought you guys took actually a pretty balanced, not destructive approach to the monetization. I definitely was reminded that there was an opportunity to watch a rewarded ad or to buy something, right? And you're using some of those freemium like daily rewards and mechanics, but I just didn't feel. I played those two games at the same time, and like Idle Miner, after like a little while, I was like, come on, and but Cells, I really didn't feel that way. I feel like there's an interesting. I felt like you guys struck a good balance, so it's maybe interesting to talk about.
Idle Miner, all the faces are like, they're like, gotta work on this mine. And they're like, even the bosses, and everyone's just like,
stressed.
They're the art style. I mean, I think it works for them. It's probably why they chose it, but it's. Game. Their game, it's like the guys go up and down the shaft, so you can like see the progress, which is pretty cool.
I thought was actually one of the coolest parts about it was there was a little layer of automation optimization.
Yeah,
because it's like he has to walk to the thing, and then if there's a bottleneck, so there was this removing bottle, and I thought that was good game design.
Yeah, and also getting it all into one screen, like kind of just keeping it into the scroll.
Yeah,
like that game does not have a Steam version. I don't believe Caribou Games. Something. So the monetization with Cells, we kept it like we did some freemium games before. So I did like a VR game which was premium on Steam, and then we did a freemium like arcade action game, and that had ads and reward ads. So we got some experience with that, like implementing them. But really thinking about the business model. So this is kind of another high level game design thing. But once you've done like a couple genre games, you do start to think about how the business model maybe affects the game.
Yeah.
So if you're doing like a premium game, your approach to game design is much different. It's got to be like more polished and more complete. But it also can be like a one-off experience. It doesn't have to go on forever. Whereas the freemium games, like they kind of can't end. They kind of have to go on almost like an old-fashioned arcade game where people can keep playing. But again, like the way you would make money is much different too. So the premium game, someone's going to pay you $10, $20 for your game. Their expectations are different. You're making the sale up front. Whereas a freemium game actually matches more the classic way you sell software, which is to get people using the product. They use it and they like it, and then they kind of get a lot of value for free. And then if they want more advanced features or they want something out of it faster, then they can interact with some of those systems or like the concessions. With Cells, my kind of philosophy has been like we're building a free theme park that anybody can go to, and then these are like the different attractions and like rides. So like we got the mammals, we got reptiles, you got space, but it's all free. But then we're allowed to sell like ice cream to people at the stuff. The one, yeah. But the other thing I wanted to really respect the player always. We do not show any interstitials, so we never show an ad unless you opt into them.
Yeah.
This is like the brilliance of the reward ad. I'm like, it's like so lame. I'm like, this is the greatest monetization strategy, but reward ads are really cool.
I agree. I think of all those mobile strategies, it really is the best, right? Because you're like, I'm ready for this. Let me do it now. Like.
Yeah, you decide when you want to do it, so the player can sense when they want it. They also kind of decide that they want it because they offer a value. So it's like they can do a little bit of work for you, and then they can basically pay for it up front. But it's such a small amount of work. So if you look at this is more like economic theory, but if you look at like purchasing patterns of people, so if like, I mean, people joke, they're like, I never spend anything in mobile games. Like, I never buy an in-app purchase. It's like, yeah, a lot of people do not like spending even $1.
Yeah. Like,
people do not want to interact. Like, they don't want to spend money there. So, like, there's actually a huge barrier to get someone to even spend $1.
Yes.
So, like, there's all this, there's like, if someone could spend like 50 cents or a quarter or even a fraction of a penny, then you can actually like get more value for what it's worth. Because I could sell an in-game product for like a fraction of a penny instead of having to charge like $1 and get people to buy like coins and then get them in my economy. Yeah. So the reward ads have actually kind of been part of the explosion of mobile games because it's allowed people to monetize players on the low end who normally don't spend anything.
Yeah, monetize all those free players, right? Like it's a way to monetize people who either don't ever, will never. I mean, I'm a little bit like that. I don't really have a problem buying a premium game, but if it's a freemium game and then I have to go buy some coins, I don't like it. I just don't like it, right? Yeah. And it's weird because if I'm actually having a lot of fun playing this, sometimes I will pay for the ad-free ad-free unlock. That feels like, okay, I played the demo, now I like it, I want to buy it. But those currency systems, I just have a natural reaction against them. I do think part of that is generational, that I grew up with premium games, right? And my idea of what a game is a premium game. And honestly, like my kids and stuff are all growing up with V-Bucks.
They're like, give me your credit card, Matt.
Bro. I have actually had like
the talk. That's the talk. Yeah.
My son spent like $300 on the thing one. You know, you cannot believe. You cannot believe how angry I was. Like, holy cow.
That's like the new, probably the new talk. Like most parents are having. It's like the moment when their kid somehow gets access to the credit card or whatever, and they're just like bam, 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 and they buy all the stuff, and they're like, oh, I got all my dragons, and they're like the coin, you
can't reimburse it. You can't reimburse it. I was like, bro, Activision, you can't give me my money back. I was like,
Activision. Oh my god, wow,
bro, this was Call of Duty. This was Call of Duty
mobile.
Yeah, no, not mobile. This was Call of Duty on PlayStation.
Oh, PlayStation.
And I didn't even realize my credit card was saved in the PlayStation store.
Yeah.
And my son just like had a real moment of bad judgment, or like a whole afternoon of bad judgment, you know, bro. And you can't refund those COD points. I was like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" Like, I was mad. I mean, that's not a good. That's not good for our industry. You know what I mean? Like that. Your parent now. I was like, that game. I deleted it off the PlayStation, even though I had paid $60 for it. I was like, delete this piece of shit. Like, I was mad, dude. And you know, so that's not good for the industry, right?
and it's an M-rated game, though.
I know. It's my kids should be playing it.
Well, that would
bad
be
parenting over here.
That would be their argument, like, oh, well, it's like
right. Your young son shouldn't be playing this game.
But that's like so. But for us, so like, I like customer service is also really important. Yeah, because like, so if anyone has an issue, like we really early on, like just making sure like it's easy to get to the feedback button in our game. Like if someone has a problem or an issue, and like Nisa, who's like our head researcher, also answers like almost all the emails too. Yeah, and like it's honestly, I feel like customer service is even more important than sometimes game design, because like you got to make sure like the players are happy, and like if they accidentally spend money in the game and they feel bad about it, or their kid did it, like. It's our responsibility to like fix that as quick as possible.
Yeah.
Now is it
because you want them to play for a long time, right? You want them to have this relationship with the game. You know, like I mean, not just it's also the right thing to do, right? But it's like
So like respecting the players is really important. Just kind of like so with monetization, like this is more other economic theory, but it's like so. In order to like if you run a business or something, you have to generate more value. Like you generate value for the player or the consumer. Yeah. And then you have to basically, because you've generated this much value, you're allowed to take like a little piece of that value.
Right.
So with our game, like the value is basically entertainment to the player, fun to the player. So we need to make sure we're generating definitely more value than we're like extracting,
asking for.
So like we, so creating that value for the player, but just being really respectful for them. So like respectful of their time. Like I don't want to ever show them an ad if they don't have to see it. I also want to make sure making sure like, and this is really hard, but making sure if you sell them something like coins, that there's actually value there.
Yes.
It sucks to buy something and you're like, that sucked.
I didn't really get anything really good out of this. And
But that's really hard. Like it's hard to like make an economy like to get the value, right? So I would, again, we also deferred to other games like Adventure Communist, like how they set up their structure to make sure people were feeling like they got a value from watching an ad and like that. So it's definitely different than like premium games. I was talking to some of my friends at Gumbo, and most of them are making like premium games or like the Steam game, but some of them are like, oh, they like to like make fun of me sometimes because I'm doing like freemium mobile, but they also are like kind of interested too because it's a little different.
Yeah.
But I was thinking like, okay, if today I was like, I'm gonna make a full-fledged like premium game for $20.
Yeah.
I don't think I could do it right out of the gate. I think I'd have to do like 2 games to get to that point.
Yeah.
Because you almost have to retrain your instincts, your game design instincts, and your tone. So like Sam, again, to bring him up, if Sam was going to do like a full freemium game, I think it would take him 2 games to get to where I am.
Totally.
Because like you have all these, it's just a different like medium, and you have to build up your knowledge for that space. So it's like,
no, I agree with that. That makes a lot of sense to me. And I think, one thing that you mentioned while we were chatting before the call is that it seems like, I've seen you now, I don't know, we've known each other for 4 or 5 years, and I've seen you, making a bunch of games, and all of us kind of hustling in the indie space and trying to make some money. And it seems like now with Cells that you've actually kind of hit something that you have a team working on it, and there is some money coming in. And how does that feel for you now, kind of been at it for a while, and now you got something hitting a little bit?
It definitely feels like, it's definitely like life achievement.
Dude. Big time.
We were just like with Mama Hawk, the last game. Roman and I worked on that, but I was like, I remember one day I was like, Roman, how smart do we have to be to like make money in this? Like, it's like how smart do we have to be to do this? Like, it's so hard, and like you're literally trying as hard as possible.
Yeah. Like
when you make a game, you're pouring like every ounce of your energy and your creative thought, and like you're like, why is this working? Like, what do I have to do? And I don't like, So to have this one actually work is pretty damn cool. So I could, and I could talk a little bit about the process of why maybe this one did work, or maybe like our ramp up.
That's interesting. Definitely.
Yeah. So we can talk about that one. Yeah. So Cells is doing pretty good. It's like, we did hit like 10 million downloads on the Android store. Android's been our biggest platform. But as Matt said, it's also on Steam. So how did we get there? So initially the game did come out of something I was really passionate about. I am very passionate about the idol genre.
Yeah.
And I definitely was a few years ago when I was like really into them. And I was super passionate about these documentary filmmaking.
Yeah.
And like and specifically the specific type of subject matter we were covering, which is life. Like where do you come from? Like what's the meaning of life? Like what are we doing here? And like where did we come from? That was really something I like to think about a lot. Like for me, like why am I here? Like what are we doing? What's the purpose? But also the beauty of life. Like it's pretty amazing. Like this, it's so. The natural world is so amazing. And then also these films, like I love these old, there's a film called Connections, a BBC documentary about the history of technology. And it just tells such an interesting story and really makes you think about your place in the world and how we got to where we are today. So I wanted to. So I was super passionate about that topic. So the first thing is whatever you do, you got to make sure your fuel, like you actually care about the thing. Because if you run out of fuel, like you're not going anywhere. Like so that you definitely should care about the thing you're making. Because it doesn't matter how like good, even if someone's paying you to do it, it's like if you lose that like passion. So I don't know. It's hard to find what that is. So whether it's like fashion or like I don't know, impressing someone, whatever it is, like make sure you do have that passion. However you get that currency, like
No, I think that's really good advice, right? Because it is a grind, right? It's hard, and it's you want to make sure that you have energy for the long haul, not just like a flash of inspiration.
Yeah, I think I was like really. I also was working on another project that I didn't want to do, and this is concept of the major and minor projects. So you have your major project, which maybe for Matt it's a 1,000 ant. Like that's your major thing. Yeah. But then the minor project is like this space mining game that you're working on also. Yeah. And so the two have a nice kind of like movement because you can get a palate cleanser by doing the minor project but you're back on the major project. And a lot of time, those minor things, those little things you start can turn into something big. Yeah. But they also have more freedom sometimes too.
Totally. That's I love that way actually of characterizing it. And that's something that is totally true for me is that, and this was something I was kind of wrestling with, right? How do these things fit together? Because the business with Thousand Ant is really what I'm really pouring a lot of time and energy into, and it's what's making money and it's sustaining us and our team. But if I was only doing that and I didn't have this other creative outlet and where I was because the truth is in most of my work, I'm basically doing business stuff. I'm not doing actually programming or development work, but I love doing that. So being able to go off and do that, even if it's in a kind of a minor project or a side project, keeps it juicy for me, and it also keeps me close to the technology. Right? I'm in the world, and not just like my skills stay current, and so I love that way of characterizing it as kind of major and minor project. It's good. So
this game, so we had this idea, and then like I really wanted to just make. I'd also loved idle games for a while, and I hadn't made one. Yeah. So I was like, I'm just going to do it. Like I'd been thinking about this concept of life because life felt like a good subject matter. It naturally like kind of goes up. So I had the idea. Let's pair. Yeah, it increases. So it seemed like a natural thing, and I had mocked this giant map. I made like my own tree map of evolution, and it was just fun to like connect everything. I almost like a cartographer, like someone that makes a map would do it. Like kind of the fun of like, I'm mapping out the world. Like this, I've always liked maps in video games. So that basically building that map. So we built a prototype, and it was really simple, like super rough. And I started sharing that. Like I'm a mobile developer, so we got on the phone pretty quickly. Yeah. And then we also used Unity's HTML5 export ability to get an HTML prototype. Yeah. So I wanted to like playtesting is unfortunately it's a very important part of making games. Like it's not always the most comfortable, but making sure I can get that in front of players. So we had identified early on that there were a lot of idle game, like people were really into the genre, so it was a buzzy genre. Yeah. And on Reddit, there's like a pretty substantial subreddit called like idle clickers or like mouse clickers, and they would they're like super like aficionados of the genre, and they're very opinionated, and they also were just like they're really interested in seeing like creative ways of doing the genre. Yeah. And they had real specific tastes. So once I spent about like 3 or 4 months like on a prototype, and then we got the HTML build. The prototype had like the basic cookie clicker like stacked buying thing, and also the beginning of the tree. Our big innovation was like you can unlock the tech tree. Yeah. And we had an HTML5 build of that, and then I would put it up on the Reddit, and you have to the positioning on Reddit is interesting because I know a lot of people will say like, oh, I tried posting some on Reddit and I didn't get no one engaged with it. No one. So you do have to kind of feel out the community and see if they're into like checking it out. Like our pitch was really like, hey, we're working on this new concept, and we do want to get people's feedback.
Yeah.
And I think our game did have some innovative things, so I think they were interested in it.
Right.
But so we put it up on there, and then we did get a lot of feedback. Some people would complain about things, and like, but I would always try to interact with them too. Like you do, if you ask someone for feedback and they give it to you, you better respond to them.
Yes.
They just gave you like a gift.
Yeah. No,
time.
Big
and they
time. Big time.
Yeah,
that attention, that time is super valuable and hard to come by. Yeah.
Yeah. So you definitely like, you can't just like throw it out and just be like, okay, whatever. You got to be like, you got to hang out with your game and like talk to the people that have to talk, and then but they'll also, you'll get more engagement that way too.
Yeah.
Because so we did that, and we get a lot of feedback, and then that feedback I would immediately integrate into the game. So people were complaining about the cutscenes in our game like play too much, and they were like, we do not like the cutscenes, like do not only show the cutscenes once. And like some things in the game, people had really like bad taste in their mouth. Like it was almost like rancid. Like the gameplay was like, it's like they just like spit it out of their mouth.
Yeah.
And it would hurt my feelings because it was like, they're like yelling at me, and but so whenever you get feedback on your game, so you know there's like positive feedback and negative feedback, but really the worst feedback is no feedback, like silence. When someone ignores your thing, that's the worst. So like, and that sucks. So like, when you get bad feedback, when someone says like they hate something about your game or have a problem with it, if you kind of like unpack what their issue is, it's like hatred comes out of like kind of caring about the issue.
Very important. Totally agree. Yeah.
Yeah. So these people that like have a problem with like our pacing, or like we've used like a weird mechanic or something, it's like they wanted it to be good, but then it wasn't. Yeah. So they're angry about it.
Or they wanted to play. They wanted to play more. They wanted to have the experience and then couldn't. Or so that's a great way to look at it, because I think obviously we all struggle with feedback, right? And feedback, it's emotional, and you're judging me, the person, and I'm a bad person now. I mean, it's brutal, right?
They are. You're the artist,
Yeah. So, but I think that's a great, really actionable way to look at it, to say, you know what, this person is caring and engaging and wanted to have an experience that they thought they were going to have this experience, and then they had something that wasn't what they wanted. Yeah. But that's kind of that first seed of like, this person might become a player, right? So that's a great way to look at that, I think.
I would actually say like anger towards your game or like is almost like definitely listen to that even more and like, what are they saying? Like, what can I tweak? Because you're like making a good game you're trying to improve it slowly. It's not like it doesn't just magically get way better. It's like it's a lot of little adjustments to the overall thing, and then you're kind of like you're inching towards like. You got to get it to a quality level or like a playability level that works for most players. Yeah. But you're not. It's not one choice that gets you. There's a lot of little optimizations and like things. So Reddit, they gave us great feedback. Not every genre has a really good community. So it might not be Reddit. It might be somewhere else. So it's at the time like we were blessed with a lot of. Got a lot of good feedback from that, and we did that every 3 months. I would post a new build to the channel, and like for the 2 days after the post, I would be very active on that forum to like answer and listen and kind of interact with everyone there. And we did that probably like three times, I think. So over the course of like 9 months, we'd show like a new like update of the prototype HTML5 build on my website. Very easy to get. There's no downloading. It's making it easy as possible for them to try it. No barriers. And then we straight up like after that, we went into early access on Android. So we had a pretty rough version of the game that I think it did go up to the Singularity, but it was pretty rough. Yeah. And we put that out on Android, and then basically we're like that was like early access. And at that point, we were just getting like 10, 12 downloads a day on a free game, like nothing. Yeah. But we started working on it, and we just kept we just started working on like the game, the store page, like figuring out how to the Android is very much store page optimization, so you have to like figure out how to position your game and get the copy and really like. But we would do that over time. So like our icon got improved, like our overall branding, our descriptions. And this happened over like a year. So we worked on for like 6 months, the game was on Android, and we're just working on it. Like every month we're updating the patch. We're getting feedback. Players are emailing us. So they're emailing us like what's up with it, what they don't like. And we're like supporting and improving the game. But these are also live players. So it's like, this is one of the big challenges with open development or early access is like, you can't change everything that quickly because you don't want to mess up their game completely.
Their experience.
So it's tough. Like we had so many issues with our save files. Just keeping like save files are the most valuable thing you have of a player. Like don't delete their save file. Like that's like their money in the bank. Like that's their most protected item. So we have 3 like save file backup systems and but
no, that's crazy. You're like especially an incremental game, right? Somebody might be playing for 6 months and they lost their progress. Like, and
that's terrible. Like that's terrible. So we did open development, and then so the idea of getting your minimum viable game like into the market earlier and just kind of testing it. For us in our genre, I think that worked really well. We got to listen to people and market it, but
and for because actually for Android as an early access channel, feedback was coming back through reviews, or how were you engaging with those players?
So getting feedback is crucial. I mentioned earlier we have a feedback button in our options. So that just is like send us an email, open up the email client. They can send it directly to us, and we get like the version number that they're on. But also on the review page, you can read the reviews. So that, kind of looking at that feedback on Steam. So we also published on Steam at the time too. So we got that out.
Okay.
It was on Android for like 6 months, and then right before the new year or last year, we published on Steam as a free game. And
what's the monetization on Steam? Is it coins or?
So Steam is in-app purchases. So you get our Darwinian cubes. The most valuable element in the universe. They're just like gems, but it's basically a parallel economic system. So you have like gems, but you also can watch ads. So,
you can watch ads on Steam. You did rewarded ads on Steam.
Not on ads, but not on Steam. But it's the same. It's kind of like you can either to boost. You can either pay for like use cubes, or you can watch an ad. But there's just no ad. It kind of sucks actually. The Steam version is like it doesn't have ads, so it's not as balanced as well.
That's what I was going to ask. But interesting. Cool. Yeah.
So I'm in the. This is like, I don't know. If they will comment, they're going to be like, this guy's stupid. He's like just trying to monetize everything. But I'm like, hey, why can't we have ads on Steam? Can't I show like an ad on? But Steam is like no ads. And probably that's good. I mean, maybe you don't need a reward ad in the middle of Dead Cells or
or like
there would be some would change the
scumbag developer, right, who would ruin it for everybody. But I mean,
post-apocalyptic.
Right. I mean, I do think though that honestly, rewarded ads they're the least player hostile, least interruptive mode of non-in-app purchase monetization, right? And honestly, we're at a point where people want free games. That's just really well established. People want free games on Steam. They want free games on PlayStation. They want free games on mobile. We're just in a free game universe, right? So I would actually bet that we see a day come where either Steam or Epic or somebody says, hey, you know what? We actually are going to we're going to make it so you can get skins on Fortnite by watching an ad, for example. I wouldn't be surprised at all if that happens.
It's better than
better than my kid hammering my credit card. Like, oh my god.
Yeah. I was just thinking, like, didn't 2K like just straight up put like movie ads in their game or something? Or,
did they? Well, they also
like for like
some of those. I can't remember what sports game it was, but they had a straight up slot machine in there. Like some of these. I mean, honestly, people talk trash about the mobile developers being kind of cash grabby. But bro, these big companies, like some of the stuff they're doing is wild. Like it just, the whole topic of, I mean, I thought you guys, to your credit, had a good, I'm just checking my timer just to see where we're at time-wise.
Yeah, what are we at?
My kids are like crawling through the room like Rambo in the background trying to get something. What are you guys doing? Can you stop that? You get the charger?
What are you doing?
Okay, take the charger and go. Come on, it's really distracting. I'm trying to have a real serious conversation here. There they go. Close the door too, please. There you go, guys. That's a live appearance by my badass kids on the 1000 Amp podcast. So we're at an hour, so we could start kind of bringing it in.
Spank him. You can spank him on live TV.
Yeah, exactly.
This is what you call
exactly. This is what you get for you buying Call of Duty points on my credit card. God damn it. Yeah, exactly. Corporal punishment live on YouTube. That's what we need. That's what we need. That's gonna get them. That's gonna get the views.
My kids.
Yeah, exactly. Angry dad, angry game dev dad. I think you guys did a good job. So we're going hard left. I think you guys did a good job with the monetization there. I'm pretty sensitive to that stuff, like I mentioned about Idle Miner, and I thought it was a nice balance, and I wasn't mad at it, and I didn't feel like, and also, right, because like you said, you had this more sophisticated tone, right? Like it was a little bit more of an adult vibe, which I, as an adult, appreciate, right? I think there's also an interesting thing here, right, where obviously we're a generation. I was, the first video game I ever saw was the Nintendo Entertainment System, and I've grown up through this, through this console cycle and everything, and I'm an adult, and I still want to play video games, and I want to have experiences that are interesting to me, and I'm interested in science, and I like classical music, and I thought that was really cool, the way, the theming and the aesthetics in that kind of more slanted in that direction, I thought was great. I mean, I think that's a really good, I think it'll be really interesting for people. So you got to the point where you had the release on Steam, you had the Android early access open development stage, and then kind of what was the next step there?
So now we're so then we just kind of kept working it. So like I have this idea, like, so it's so hard to make any money in video games, like it's so hard to sell like games. So like, and I'm going to like, we're in New York City, like every couple blocks, like a Chinese restaurant, and I'm like, if a Chinese restaurant can like make money, like, and stay in business, how can I just like get a sustainable like game going? So part of that was the problem solving, like what can we do to do that? And so we were looking for a niche, and then the science thing felt like underserved, especially the adult level of it. Like let's do it really adult, and let's really bring the factual information, and let's serve that audience. So that's more like positioning, like what your thing is, because if our game was a different topic, it might not work as well. So
totally.
So choosing the right idea is still important. You can't ideas are still
honestly. I think it's super important.
Like execution's huge, but idea is really important too. But so then we're like the Chinese restaurant. Like it's open every single day. Like people can go anytime they want to buy something, and they're always like, working. Like it's not like a sprint to like the finish line and then you're done. Like it's really like, okay, we're like going to keep going. We're going to keep polishing and kind of inching towards like this higher quality level. So then for the next like 6 months, a year, like we're really just like, how do we keep pushing it? And the game did resonate with an audience. So we did have players that were like, hey, we really like this game. I like what you're doing here. Like, please keep going. And like, nothing is more motivating than that, to have a player say like, hey, this is cool. Like, keep going.
Yeah.
Because if you're like, damn, I don't want to do this, but you have like some players like, do it, please.
No, I know this guy is waiting for me to ship an update. Yeah. No, that's real.
It's like, so that feeling is great, and you don't always get that with every game. So that's why it's good. It's like kind of try different things.
Yeah.
So we just kind of kept working on it. Now we've polished it to the point where we added a huge dinosaur section, which had a new game mechanics, and then our players are kind of like, add mammals or add this. So we're just kind of going. Our game's like, it's like an everything game. So
You got like, space to grow off in different directions. And that's cool. Yeah.
So that's kind of where we're going. But then the main growth came from the Google Play Store. So that's where we did have the most growth on there. So Google Play is like I'm kind of more like analytical, like strategy person. So I like tweaking, kind of experiment, like tweaking numbers or for marketing, like tweak like the graphic a little bit and see did my numbers go up, tweak the keywords. So that Google Play Store actually lets you do a lot of that stuff. And one of the most valuable tools they have is you can see how people find your game. So they'll give you a list of all the search terms that people search by. So they'll say like, oh, people are searching evolution and they find your game, or people search like civilization, or it might be like another game, like a competitor game, where they search and find it. So you can see like, oh, this is what people are thinking when they come across your game on the store. So they're finding the game on the storefront, and then they're searching for it in the store. So then we would use that market research to understand like how we should tweak our branding, and how we should align ourselves.
Store page look so that the person who came looking for that might be like, oh yes, I've come to the right place.
Yeah. And then looking at competitor games, like we were very influenced by Plague Inc., which has a wonderful, probably best in class for like their science kind of horror theme, but also being very like science accurate.
Yeah, very interesting.
So we looked a lot at their style and their just kind of their tonal approach, and then Idle Miner we looked at also a lot just because they're like a juggernaut in that space.
Yeah.
But yeah, so getting the branding, but the branding was also iterative too. So this is the thing, you're trying to make a game and like, I want to program is fun, but then you're like, okay, well I gotta do marketing, or I have to do like branding. And then we self-publish ourselves. So we're not working with a publisher. I think that is, I don't know, the value of mobile publishers are a little, if you're running ads, it makes sense. But I think really this is self-publishing is such a great opportunity to self-publish, like on Steam, but it does mean you have to learn all about that crap, like marketing and like, because you're like, we're not getting any downloads. What do you do?
You're running a business now,
you gotta do something, So a lot of that's been just iterative, and I think with the Google Play Store, they're like, it's like Google AI or whatever. That's like the big Google brains like runs all that stuff. So I guess we got to a point where I think our numbers were good, and I think maybe our retention or something, where we started to show up in more recommendations.
Right.
And then it's kind of like the Netflix effect where you're watching something and there's like the recommendations. And I think we started showing up in recommendations.
YouTube is also so dominated by that. Like getting big on YouTube is so much about getting recommended next to other videos and all this metadata and SEO kind of stuff. No, I think that's super interesting. But I think there's also a great, I think for the story that I hear there is this real iterative looping, taking feedback, kind of 1% at a time optimization and improvement, which I don't think that everybody necessarily thinks of in making a game, right? That they kind of think, I'm going to make the game and then I'm going to do some marketing and I'm going to ship it and then I'm going to make my money and then I'm going to be done, right? Whereas you've been in this real engaged with this base of play, or, first engaged with this community, engaging with this base of players, really listening, improving, continuing to work, optimizing, that real kind of long-term service-like approach, I think is very, very interesting. And now, so how many people are working on the game now besides you?
We have about 6 people, I think. We have 2, 3 programmers, including myself, so I'm like a programmer, and then this guy John Ree, who's an amazing visualist and coder, but he's been upgrading all that, like the visual fidelity of stuff. And then and he's responsible for like the UI design. And then we have this guy Ryan Sue, who's like our kind of like junior game design programmer, and he's at this time he's actually doing a lot of the bulk of the new content. We have Hanero, who who's doing QA and game design. So he's like, he's doing. I don't think idle genre was like his favorite thing, but he is doing like. I think he'd prefer to do game design with like more action arcade thing where you're moving stuff around. But I'm like, no, we just need numbers. Like, just look at these numbers all day. So it's kind of but yeah. So he's doing that, and then this girl Olga is helping out with our icons. So we bought our icons are like Shutterstock stuff.
Wow.
So we were also like we knew that we were going to need like 500, like 1,000 upgrades. Yeah. So like early on, I was like, "How the hell do you do that?" Oh, well, I guess we'll just use like stock images.
Yeah.
Because they look like ass sometimes. They don't look great. Yeah. But it does mean we can solve the bigger problem of how do we have 1,000 of these things?
Yeah.
Because we could do custom illustrations for each one, but then it takes you forever and
it's really a lot of work. But it's funny. This is something people really don't understand. That was actually my not a joke, but it was something that we would tell people. Back in the days of the Unity forums, we would get these beginners coming in. They'd be like, I'm going to make an MMO by myself. And we'd be like, that's great that you're going to do that. That's so great that you're going to do that. Yeah. Okay. And then we would say, it was like a little bit messing with people, but also like educating them like, okay, what are you going to do about the icons? Yeah.
Good question. Yeah.
And we'd be like, okay, World of Warcraft has, I forget, 680 icons, or I mean, it's probably a lot more than that, right? But large number of icons. Okay, how long is it going to take you to draw an icon? Oh, probably an hour. Okay, so you got 680 hours to draw the icons, And we would just be like, okay, so you got 52 weeks in the year. You got 680 hours to draw the icons. You're going to draw the icons? Yes, you're going to draw the icons. Okay, and it was just like, that was always how we would start, and then they would be like, "Oh my god!" It was like a little bit like we're like maybe you should make something smaller first, and they were like, "Okay," but that thing of the icons. So it's like you guys had that literal question, and honestly, I think that thing of what's interesting there is you guys had this science theme, so you could get the stock images, right? Because they were real things, which is also interesting, But then now it's like, okay, we ship with these stock images, and as you say, maybe some of them are not just the way you want, but you shipped, and now if the game has legs, maybe you want to go and redo some of them or whatever it is, right? Yeah. So that's, I think, smart and just very pragmatic, approach that people can learn from.
Yeah. And for our specific game, I think this works because we're telling the story about life and evolution, which is kind of a universal thing that doesn't change very much. Like, the evolution of humans is not going to change in like a year or 2 years. So it is naturally something like we can keep building and like working on to improve. Whereas this strategy might not work with like a platformer that you're trying to tell like a shorter story. Yeah. So it wouldn't. It might not make sense to invest that time into certain things.
No, definitely. It's not a universal strategy, but I do think there's something kind of smart and practical there. Well, I think that, so, if you had some advice, I think we're getting to time, so we can start wrapping up, but if you had some advice to someone who is kind of coming in and thinking, maybe I want to make an idle game, what would be your kind of short piece of advice to them? Is it don't do it, or
I don't know, maybe don't. I'm not sure because I don't know like the window. I'm not. Let's see. I mean, idols are pretty cool. Like our next game will probably be an idle game just because we're like experts at it right now.
Yeah.
I think it's definitely very saturated.
Yeah.
So like, it's definitely harder to get
traction now.
Your neck out there, or like I'm talking about optimizing the Google Play Store. So that was easier 2 years ago. Now it's like the uniqueness of my game then might not be as unique now.
Yeah. So and I think that's a key thing for anybody looking at and thinking about this is it's all about a moment in time, and this is the moment when there was an opening in the market that was maybe underserved, and you can get in there, and that's not going to be the same 2 years later. So I think that's a good.
So definitely grain of salt with any piece of advice.
Of course.
I do really like the genre. Like, I mean, I like it for the kind of the hypnotic quality of it. It is almost like like a slot machine. Like I joke, our game is like a science casino. Yeah. It's like, go to the casino. You're gonna learn a little about science.
Learn about like, reptiles.
Learn about some reptiles.
Yeah.
And I think so that mechanic just being so like engrossing. Like I'm excited about like probably less innovation on the game design side and more innovation on like, whoa, can we do nonfiction content in that? Like, how do we do like if you look at television, how diverse like the topics are. You have like reality shows like where they do cooking shows and fashion, like that fashion show where they got a Project Runway, or they have like just like YouTube has so much great documentary content right now with like they just drill down on every specific topic, everything from like true crime to like space astronomy and stuff. So how to like as a game designer, I'm fascinated with those topics, more like nonfiction stuff.
Which isn't, that's an interesting combo for sure. That's maybe a little underexplored. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's what I'm excited about, kind of exploring that realm. It's what fascinates me. And the genre is still popular. So it does feel like the genre does have legs. So if tomorrow like everybody stopped playing idle games on the phones, then I would not recommend it. You do want to be in the wave of like whatever the wave is of the genre, like definitely listening to those things because
no. That's really I think really good and practical piece of advice. Somebody who I think is doing really good work around that is Ryan Clark, who made Crypt of the Necrodancer.
Oh yeah, Clark Tank.
Clark Tank, dude. Clark Tank is so great, and he's really engaging with that question of what genres are growing, what genres are dying, who's doing numbers. It's very Steam. Like I think it's very Steam and Nintendo eShop focused. Those are his kind of main markets, and so he's kind of looking at who's winning the race there. But I think it's a very I know I learn a lot when I watch it, just to his thought process of like he's looking at this and they're kind of predicting they think this is going to do well or not, or this genre is growing or dying. And it's very, if you're interested in this business side of things, I think there's a lot to learn there. It's really fun.
I got so many ideas. Right now we're just making idle games aside of the game. So like one thing we've been holding off for a while is like so we want to like reward players for like spending a lot of time in the game and like actually spending money. So like if a player watches like a certain amount of ads or like buys anything in the game, I should be giving them something great. Like they're kind of my Patreon.
That's your core. Like those are your core people, right? So
So what I've been meaning to, we haven't had time to do this, but this is like on the books. We're going to make this special space in the game. It's kind of like a did you ever play Super Mario World?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, there's like the secret room early on in the game that has like all the freebies. It has like mushrooms, feathers, and Yoshi, and you just walk in and you can grab all the stuff. So it's just like a freebie room.
Yeah.
So we want to have like a freebie room that's that players can unlock, and then there's like every day they get some free currency.
Yeah.
But it's like so we're gonna call this like the Darwinium Elite Lounge. Yeah. So it's kind of like the airport lounge. So it's like the VIP lounge, and like so we're gonna have like these like the space doors like Star Trek. Yeah. But it's like locked. So players will be able to go to the door, but they won't be able to get in, and they'll see like, oh, it's Darwinium Elite Lounge. They can't get in. But then if they do buy something in the game or they watch like 50 ads, then they get access to it.
Yeah.
And inside of this one, it's like this really pimp space. Like
environment,
room. Yeah, kind of a little like the room you have in your game. I saw the screen, on it, but it's got like it's gonna have like the statue of David like in the center of it. So and you're gonna collect the idle game. They'll be collecting all the masterworks of the world.
Cool.
So you're gonna get like the Mona Lisa, like statue of David, like all these great works of art, and we'll have some sort of idle mechanic where you're like unlocking them, but then you can like flesh out this like space
like a gallery.
It's almost like in Space Odyssey 2001 they have that weird room at the end where the guy's dying and it's like it's just kind of very French Baroque kind of thing. But so the players will be able to kind of just like have that special room. So that whole like mini game is going to be for like the most dedicated players.
That's awesome.
And that's. But that's something, because we do have a pretty big player base, we can do something really fun that's just for like a segment of people.
Yeah.
And do like some Easter eggs in there. So that's so. But again, nonfiction content. So like unlocking the great works of art, and we'll write about why the Mona Lisa is significant.
Yeah.
Why is like maybe you collect like some.
No, that's awesome. I love that, and I love the idea that you have this framework of a game design that allows you to bring in all these different themes and historical and nonfiction material and allow people to engage with it in a fun way. I think that's super cool. Well, dude, thank you so much for coming on and chatting. I think this has been super, super, interesting and educational, and I hope people learned a lot from listening to it. Maybe we'll come back and do it again in the future. You can give us an update on your next project as it gets going. Just thanks again. And I guess if you want to tell people, where to find you or where to check out your games, maybe give them a signal.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks so much for having me on the show. It was fun chatting about it. Cell To Singularity is our game, and
check it out.
Okay. Yeah.
All right. Thanks, man. All right. We'll see you soon.
Bye, guys.
All right. Bye.